My name is Alex and I'm 17 years old. I live in a small suburban town where nothing exciting ever happens. My parents are strict about what I download on my phone, so I've always had to make do with basic apps and free games. That's why, when I found out about Choice Connect, I didn't think twice before downloading it. The app had appeared in a random ad while I was scrolling through a forum. It promised exclusive access to premium services, streaming games, even online shopping discounts, all for free. The only catch, it required you to answer a simple question each time you logged in. I figured it was harmless. A couple of clicks, and I could get free stuff. It sounded too good to pass up. The first time I opened the app, the screen went dark for a moment. Then, bright text appeared in glowing white letters. Welcome to Choice Connect. We don't ask for payment. We don't require subscriptions. All we ask for is an answer. Underneath, there was a question. What would you prefer to lose, your phone or your wallet? Two icons appeared on the screen, a phone and a wallet. I chuckled. Easy choice, I couldn't live without my phone. I tapped the wallet, and the app immediately unlocked a premium subscription to my favorite streaming service. That night I binged an entire series without ads, completely free. The next day I realized my wallet was missing. It was small and square, made of soft brown leather, with a few scuffs on the edges from years of use. I had owned it for as long as I could remember. The inside flap even had a little doodle of a smiley face I had drawn in marker when I was younger. That doodle made it unmistakably mine. I clearly remembered placing it in the side pocket of my bag the previous night before heading to bed, or had I? At first I brushed it off. Maybe it had fallen out of my bag and was lying somewhere in my room. I emptied the contents of my bag onto my bed. Textbooks, notebooks, crumpled receipts, and random pens clattered onto the comforter. I shook the bag, rifling through every pocket, even the tiny hidden compartments I rarely used. No wallet. My heart sank. A wave of confusion and unease washed over me. I froze, staring at the mess on my bed, trying to remember the last time I had seen it. Had I taken it out at school, left it at my desk, dropped it in the cafeteria? The questions swirled in my mind, each more frantic than the last.
Maybe I dropped it somewhere outside. The thought made my stomach churn. I threw on a jacket and retraced my steps back to school, the cold air biting my cheeks as I hurried down the sidewalk. At the school, I searched everywhere: my locker, the bench where I usually sat with friends, even the hallway corners. I leaned down and peeked under desks, feeling more and more ridiculous with every fruitless search. My friends asked me what I was doing, but when I explained, they could only offer sympathetic shrugs and guesses. By the time I returned home, it was dark, and the creeping sense of dread had solidified into something heavier. I slumped onto the couch, replaying the day in my mind. Could it have been stolen? The thought unsettled me. It wasn't just a wallet, it had my ID, a bit of cash, and a library card I couldn't replace without a lecture. Worse, it felt personal. Someone taking something that had been mine for so long. It didn't sit right. My parents weren't sympathetic. My dad grumbled about the cost of replacing my ID, shaking his head at my irresponsibility. My mum scolded me for being careless, her voice sharp as she reminded me to always double-check my belongings. I tried to explain that I had checked, that I knew I'd put it in my bag, but the words sounded weak even to me. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the app's icon glowing on my phone screen, the white letters from the first question seared into my memory. What would you prefer to lose, your phone or your wallet? The unease twisted into something colder. Could it be connected? No, that was ridiculous. An app couldn't steal my wallet, or could it? I grabbed my phone, staring at the icon like it was mocking me. I couldn't bring myself to open it, but I couldn't delete it either. The longer I stared, the more uneasy I felt. Eventually, exhaustion overtook me. But even as I drifted into a restless sleep, the unease lingered like a shadow at the edge of my thoughts. The next evening, the app buzzed to life with a new question. Which would you rather break, a window or a mirror? The screen glowed in the dim light of my room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Two images appeared, one of a cracked window, its jagged edges catching a faint light, and the other of a shattered mirror, the fragments reflecting distorted, ghostly shapes. My chest tightened. There was something unnerving about the question, though I couldn't put my finger on why. I rubbed my hands together, suddenly aware of how cold they felt. My eyes lingered on the mirror. I immediately thought of my mom's antique heirloom, a massive, ornate piece with intricate floral carvings along the gilded frame. It had been in our family 4 generations, passed down like some kind of treasure. If I picked the mirror and something happened to that, I didn't even want to think about it. The weight of my mom's disappointment was almost tangible. She'd never forgive me. With a sigh, I tapped the window. It felt like the lesser evil, easier to replace, less sentimental. The screen went black for a moment before returning to my home screen, the question gone as if it had never existed. I stared at my phone, a strange unease settling over me. The choices seemed meaningless, yet they always left me with this lingering sense of dread. I shook my head, trying to brush it off, and set the phone down. "It's just a stupid app," I muttered to myself, but the words felt hollow. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of yelling. My mom's voice was sharp, cutting through the house like a knife. Unbelievable. This is just what I need. Heart pounding, I scrambled out of bed and hurried to the kitchen. The sight that greeted me made me stop in my tracks. The window above the sink was shattered, the morning sunlight streaming through the jagged hole. Tiny shards of glass littered the ground outside, glittering like sharp little stars on the frost-covered grass. Mom was pacing back and forth, her hands waving in exasperation. Those neighbor kids. I've told them 100 times not to kick that ball around near the house. I knew this would happen eventually. Her voice was furious, but I barely heard her. My focus was locked on the shards outside. Something wasn't right. My mind worked furiously to piece it together. If the window had been broken from the outside by a ball or anything else, shouldn't the glass be inside the house, not outside? I crouched down near the frame, my fingers brushing against the cold edge of a jagged piece still clinging to the pane. It wasn't just broken, it was splintered, as though some incredible force had struck it. And it wasn't a clean break, either. The edges looked strange, warped almost, as though they'd been twisted by something sharp or heavy. A ball couldn't do that. A shiver crept down my spine as another thought wormed its way into my mind, unbidden and unwelcome. The glass wasn't just broken, it looked as if someone had jumped through it. But not from outside, from the inside. I took a shaky step back, suddenly aware of how quiet the house felt, despite my mum's muffled muttering in the background. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. The kitchen felt colder than usual, and the morning sunlight, usually warm and inviting, felt harsh and clinical against the broken glass. Mom interrupted my thoughts. "Alex, are you even listening? This is exactly why I don't want them playing near the house. I'm going to talk to their parents." I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. What could I even say? If I told her what I was thinking, that the shards being outside didn't make sense, that the break looked like something no neighborhood kid could have caused, she'd think I was losing it. Instead, I nodded mutely, my stomach churning with unease. Deep down, I knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't the neighbor kids. This wasn't something ordinary. And as much as I wanted to convince myself otherwise, I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow this was connected to the app. I couldn't prove it, but the nagging thought latched onto me, growing heavier with each passing second. I left the kitchen quickly, unable to shake the icy tendrils of fear coiling around me. After days of ignoring the app, I finally gave in. My fingers trembled as I unlocked my phone, the screen lighting up with its ominous glow. I could almost hear the low hum of tension in the room, though I knew it was just my imagination. The app opened without hesitation, as if it had been waiting for me. Who would you rather lose, a stranger or a friend? The words punched me in the gut. My stomach twisted, and my breathing hitched. Two images appeared on the screen. One was a generic silhouette labeled stranger. The other was a photo of Mia, my best friend. I froze, staring at her picture. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out everything else. The photo wasn't just any photo. It was from the night we'd gone to the carnival last summer. She'd forced me onto the Ferris wheel despite my protests, laughing the whole time. The memory came rushing back, the way the sunset painted her face in warm tones, her laughter echoing in my ears as she teased me for holding on to the railing that my life depended on it. Mia wasn't just my best friend, she was my rock. I thought about the time we spent hours building forts out of blankets in my living room, whispering stories late into the night, or the way she'd always find a way to make me laugh when I was feeling down. She was the kind of person who could make the darkest days seem a little brighter. She was everything. My chest tightened. This couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of sick joke. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I couldn't bring myself to tap either option. No, I muttered, shaking my head. I'm not doing this. I pressed the power button, hoping to turn the phone off, but the screen stayed lit. My heart raced as the app's text shifted, the words now flashing in blood-red letters. Make your choice. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. My hands were clammy, and my fingers felt numb. A sickening chill crawled up my spine, and for a second, I thought I might be sick. The phone vibrated in my hand, and a countdown appeared on the screen. 10 seconds to decide. I panicked. My thoughts scattered in every direction, like leaves caught in a storm. My grip on the phone tightened, my knuckles white. No, 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 I whispered, my voice barely audible. My eyes darted between the two icons. This can't be real. The timer ticked down. 8, 7, 6. My breathing became shallow. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs, the sound deafening in the silence of my room. I couldn't lose Mia, I wouldn't. But what would happen if I didn't choose? 5, 4, 3. My thumb hovered over the screen, trembling uncontrollably. The countdown ticked louder in my mind, each second hammering into my chest like a drumbeat. 5, 4, 3. I squeezed my eyes shut, heart pounding. I couldn't choose Mia. I couldn't. My thoughts spiraled in chaos, drowning out reason. With no time left, I blindly tapped the stranger's silhouette, my breath catching as the screen responded with a soft click. The room was silent except for the sound of my ragged breathing. Slowly, I opened my eyes, ready to be hit with relief, ready to tell myself this nightmare was over. But it wasn't. The stranger's icon hadn't been selected. Instead, Mia's picture glowed with a faint red outline, like a target locked in place. My stomach dropped as cold dread clawed its way up my spine. No, I whispered, shaking my head violently. No, I didn't choose her. The app's screen flickered once, then displayed a chilling message in stark, blood-red text. Choice confirmed. My breath hitched, and the room felt like it was closing in around me. No, I yelled, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. That's not what I meant. I didn't mean to pick her. I jabbed at the screen, desperately trying to undo the choice. Please, I begged, my voice cracking. I'll pick again. Just let me try again. The screen flickered again, the message morphing into something even worse. No second chances. No, no, no. I gasped, my voice rising in panic. My fingers frantically swiped at the phone, trying to backtrack, trying to reset the app, trying anything. The screen flashed one final time, and then black. The silence in the room was deafening. I stared at the lifeless screen, my reflection faint in the glossy surface. It felt like the world had stopped spinning. My heartbeat the only sound in the void. My chest heaved as I struggled to breathe, a sinking dread anchoring me to the spot. No, I whispered again, my voice shaking. This isn't happening, but deep down, I knew. I had made my choice, and the app had accepted it. The silence of my room pressed against my ears, deafening and oppressive. The next morning, everything felt off. The air was heavy, and an unshakable sense of dread clung to me. I grabbed my phone and hesitated before unlocking it. Nothing unusual, no notifications, no new questions. Maybe it really had been just a bad dream. But when I got to school, that hope crumbled. Mia wasn't there. At first, I thought she was sick or late, but as the day went on, I realized something was horribly wrong. I tried calling her, but her number went straight to voicemail. I sent her a text, but it didn't deliver. At lunch, I asked our mutual friends if they'd heard from her. They looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Mia," one of them said, frowning. "Who's that?" The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I stared at them, my mouth opening and closing as I tried to form a response. "Mia, you know, my best friend," I said, my voice rising. "We've been friends forever." They exchanged uneasy glances before shaking their heads. "Sorry, Alex, I think you're confused." Panic surged through me as I bolted from the cafeteria. I ran to Mia's house, my legs burning, my breath coming in short gasps. When I arrived, the house was empty, not just empty, abandoned. The windows were boarded up, the lawn overgrown with weeds. It looked like no one had lived there for years. I stumbled back, the world spinning around me. My chest felt tight, and the air seemed to thin. I fumbled for my phone, desperate for answers, but her social media profiles were gone. Every photo, every post, every trace of her existence wiped clean. I staggered back to my room that evening, collapsing onto my bed. My mind reeled, trying to make sense of it all, but the answer was as clear as it was horrifying. She was gone, not just missing, erased. And it was my fault. I stared at my phone, the weight of it unbearable in my hand. The app's icon sat there, unassuming, as if nothing had happened, but I knew better. The silence of my room felt suffocating as I clutched the phone, my knuckles turning white. Mia was gone because of me, because I made the choice. Now, the app is silent. It hasn't asked me any more questions, but it's still there, its icon sitting on my screen, dark and dormant, like a predator lying in wait. I've tried deleting it, but nothing works. It's as if it's fused with my phone, an unshakable presence. Every time I glance at it, a chill creeps down my spine. I don't know when it will come back or what it will demand of me next. Maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now. I've thought about smashing the phone, tossing it into a river, or burying it far away. But something holds me back, a faint, gnawing fear that breaking the connection might be worse than keeping it. For now, I wait, but the waiting feels like its own kind of torment. Because when the app finally speaks again, I don't know what it will take, or who it will take.